Earlier this year, I was performing something called a soil resistivity test. And what that is you pass an electric current through the soil, like with using a battery and some rods. And you can obtain a lot of information doing this at a scientific level. But after it was put into a computer and you got kind of a visual output of it, I noticed there was a lot less resistance in this one particular area of the cemetery. It could be normal, but still there was a lot less resistance. And then I did some theorizing. I'm like, okay, maybe there's something also under the ground. Turns out there was. And then it occurred to me that, well, I feel funny in this area sometimes. Other people feel funny in this area sometimes. People with magnetic field meters are going into this area and then getting all excited. Sometimes they'll walk up to me and say, hey, we're getting this reading. What's going on? Do you know anything about this area? At the time, I didn't. And, I still wasn't putting the pieces of the puzzle together as far as feeling weird. But once I was able to determine that, yes, there is something under the ground, and it is metallic, and it is likely man-made because it's pretty big, and it's also, there's an impression in the ground, like something either collapsed, such as a casket, or maybe just a heavy object. Anyway, as the time goes on, I started, you run into people here that are sensitive, extra sensitive to things in their lives. I thought, maybe this is a good time. I'm going to try something. And the first person, I just had them kind of generally walk over to the area. Not exactly a very good blind study, but I go, stand here and tell me what you feel. And she's having this reaction, and I wasn't sure if it was exaggerated or not, but she says, she's feeling something. I'm like, okay. So I tried a few more people, but this time I would pick one tree and then another tree across the way, and so it's kind of a straight line. You walk it, and this is really just to save time, so you're not just walking aimlessly around an area, trying to find a spot that feels kind of funny. And everybody I had tested, up to a certain point anyway, because I was picking these people that were sensitive, they would detect the epicenter, exactly where the spot or where this thing was buried. And sometimes, they would, when they would walk into this field, because it creates a disturbance around it, 40, 50 feet, kind of even in a teardrop shape. When they started getting into that area, they would stop a little bit, like something feels funny. And, they go a little further, something feels funny. But when they got to the epicenter, it would be like they stopped for a while, or maybe that's the first time they would actually really look down, like something really got their attention, whatever. And then I have them make another pass when they get to the other tree, and it would happen again. Sometimes I would film them. In the beginning, I wouldn't, because people get self-conscious, and I don't want to ask for permission ahead of time or anything. I want everybody to be relaxed when they try it. Then occasionally, I would just, I'm thinking, I better pull out the camera and, try to film a little bit, because, it just has to be done. And typically on people I feel are just comfortable. And then I'm like, okay, something's going on. People can detect this magnetic field. And then I started doing things, because these are one-on-one things too. You want to just keep it just a singular person. You don't want a group of people. It's really distracting. But then I had to make no choice, but I just would grab a group of 3 or 4 people, and I'd say, hey, would you like to walk this line? And they weren't really picking up on it. Now, occasionally it would stop in certain areas repeatedly, but not the epicenter, and I was kind of curious even about that. And there was something about those specific spots too, especially this one. And like, okay, all right, fine, that's part of this study. Some people are going to detect it, some are not. If you're more sensitive, you're more inclined to pick up on it. Okay. Then I put that notice out on the internet about the wonder spot. It's just in reference to the old Wisconsin Dells wonder spot, which is long gone. And no, this isn't an optical illusion or anything fake per se, but it's kind of funny. It's a little spot, so I just kind of threw that out there because I kind of like the wonder spot. I missed that. Anyway, so somebody eventually is going to come, hopefully, actually, and do some more scientific measurements, because I haven't finished my procession magnetometer, and that will give us some pretty good indication of the field strength all around this stuff. But all this really is that you take the Earth's magnetic field, and it can vary certain times of the day, and it'll have different positions in the lines. It'll, you know, go in different directions. But once it gets near this object, a lot of it gets concentrated, and then some of it will kind of get warped a little bit, and that probably explains the teardrop shape, where it kind of points north. That's just on preliminary measurements of walking through the field with a device that has fluxgate sensors in it. But you know, some of us are sensitive to these magnetic fields. If you're in the woods, even though it's the, you know, Chicago area and there's a lot of RF pollution, magnetic pollution, whatever you want to call it, once you get in the woods away from homes and stuff, you know, you get into a more relaxed field. And yeah, well, it makes sense. You know, if you're walking around the cemetery and you hit one of these spots, you know, you feel something different. It's not in your head. It's definitely repeatable. Now, even if you're shown the exact spot, let's say, you can also go and just get maybe 20 feet from it, close your eyes if you're good at this with your balance. Some are good, some people are good, some people are not. Close your eyes and just start, you know, kind of walking, and then you get more sensitivity that way. Then all of a sudden you feel this certain something. Sometimes it varies, you know what I mean? So but what's fun is the ones who are like, wait a minute, and they open their eyes and they're standing on the spot. Other people they don't. Sometimes you'll walk by it, they won't keep a straight line, but they'll say they'll feel something. And I know, since I'm seeing where they're at, since I'm watching where they're at, you know, if I know they're a little bit south of it, you know, or something, or whatever, however you want to put this, like they're walking west or south of it, if it's to their right, maybe they'll report a tingly or something funny on the right side. If they're on this other side, on the north, maybe they'll feel it on the left. And some people will report, this one's common, that it feels heavy. You know, especially when I close my eyes and I walk through the zone, I'll just play with this, you know, randomly throughout the day when I'm in there now, where you just pick any old spot, just walk a straight line, and then close your eyes and walk it. And you're like, when you feel it and you stand down, it's so fun, you know, you're like, oh, got it again. And sometimes you will feel fluctuations, and you know, there are fluctuations, but when you get to that epicenter, something does happen to where you feel like a different kind of a weight to it. Sometimes you'll experience a little vertigo, and maybe there are clues here how this is working when you experience like the heaviness, the vertigo thing. Maybe there's a, you know, balance thing in the air. I don't know what's going on, but we seem to be able to detect these things. Another interesting aspect is that way back in the day, somewhere in the, oh God, I'll pop up the PDF report, but the USGS, or something like the U.S. government performed a test. They wanted to know, do dowsing rods, the use of them, work to find water? So they did take it seriously back in the day, and what they did was they picked this field, and in this field they would just bring out one person, and then they would have them go around and then, you know, mark or place something down on the ground, and they make a map of these things. But what they also did, which was very interesting, is they took a rod or a pipe and they pounded it into the ground. And what they found was that there was a high percentage of people that were, you know, with the dowsing rods, picking this point where this pipe was. So maybe they were just picking up on that magnetic field. Makes sense, right? Just really fun stuff to do, you know. Well, so when you're out here and you're, you know, kind of like, hey, there's no ghosts, you know, and you're kind of bored, if that's what you're coming for, you know, just pick this little spot, you know, try it out, see what happens. It's nice to know where the epicenter is not. So this is a real spoiler thing. And I hope to do a follow-up when we can do some real measurements, getting like real field strength measurements of the area of that spot, and not just the general preliminary thing that I did, but you know, for those of you out there into this kind of thing, you know, it could be a good little study thing for a school report. Who knows, you know. Until then, when I have more information, have fun. Actually, there was more information I should throw in there. This particular spot actually has a history that goes back at least to the early 90s, and even my very first visit here, and I've got some video footage of it. One was the the classic lady in a headstone photograph, that would, she's sitting on the headstone, just kind of perched up, looking like a female there, right? And apparently the photographer, I'll have to dig this up, was in that general area when she felt the need to take a picture or whatever. I don't know if she felt funny, but it is kind of, maybe it's just a coincidence. Only a few people have noticed, like, hey, this happens to be the area where she took the photograph, where she was standing. But the one that really sticks out to me is that this 1996 footage that I took, this guy John that was with me, he is kind of sensitive to things, and so that was kind of convenient. And in this one clip, he was walking over to we were going to discuss something that was happening on an interference level, and he walked within about 5-ish feet of the epicenter, and he did a classic thing that everybody does when they get near there. Not everybody, but like the ones that are really sensitive anyway, they go, whoa, kind of like a Neo thing, like, whoa, what is that? And he just kept going. But yeah, I thought I'd throw that in there. And I'll throw in I'll throw in a few more clips, just a couple that I might have some relevance. I had one person that was sensitive to things, and he did the pass, and he hit the epicenter twice, and actually he was the most accurate as far as when you're using detection of a metal object, and that was like the strongest field. I can't say it's the strongest as far as the field strength of the magnetic field around it, but as far as detecting metal, yeah, that was the strongest. Anyway, until next time, when I have more information,
I know, right in this area. Whoa. I know, right in this area. Whoa.
I know this can be disorienting, but if it's possible, if you do close your eyes and keep walking straight, that's when it can be more noticeable. Then you feel that change, you could stop. I know it's hard to do that. Something different? You kind of look down there. It got a lot heavier. Okay. Enough to where you're definitely not moving yet. Okay, now stand by the tree. Yeah, sure. Try that one, and then make another pass to the other tree where you started. Okay, stand there. I want to get it on video. So there's a little divot somewhere. Yep, you're on. You're actually more on than most people. So, yeah, you're right on it. Try and get a reference point here. You can actually even stop. You don't need to go anywhere else. So you're standing on a very strong magnetic anomaly. You're just picking up on the ambient magnetic field, something that stretches about 40, 50 feet in circumference, but that is the epicenter. And it's a big enough anomaly to mess with the equipment, and so far every single person has been able to detect it with their bodies, their physiology. Sometimes it's described in different ways, but their bodies do react in that exact spot.